Alright, today we're going to do Standard 2 Objective 1b Major Molecules. Major molecules can be found on page 167, and as you can see, they are carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Alright, those are the four major macromolecules that we have that we're going to talk about. Carbohydrates, you can find these on page 168. They're basically the life major functions for everything. So carbohydrates, primary source of energy, find them in pasta, cereal, examples, fruit, sugars, complex, simple. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of carbohydrates. Okay, you have amylase, stores energy, glycogen stores energy, cellulose forms cell walls, chitin forms external skeletons. So chitin, grasshoppers. That's a form of chitin right there. Alright. So complex carbohydrates are different than simple carbohydrates. Alright. Carbohydrates, they have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. That's why I abbreviated CHO. Alright, because they have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Then we go to lipids or fats, and these can be found on page 169 of your textbook. They're just a whole bunch of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygens, but they have different molecular setups. Alright? They have a totally different molecular setups, a bunch of COOHs that will not be found ever in carbohydrates. They're called fatty acids, so they're acidic. Carbohydrates are not acidic. Fats are very necessity for living organisms. They store chemical energy very densely. Alright? Fats are good and bad, okay, because you got types of lipids. Triglycerides, phospholipids. Oh, phospholipids are very important because without these phospholipids right here, we wouldn't have cell walls. Cell membranes. And without cell membranes, we wouldn't be alive because we wouldn't have cells. Alright, steroids. Everybody thinks, well, what are steroids? Oh, I take steroid for my inhaler. Well, guess what? It's a type of fat. It's a type of cholesterol. Alright? So fats play a very, very, very important part of our diet. We need them. Not too many of them, but we definitely do need still fatty acids. Again, this is just from the reading that you were supposed to have done or look at. By all means, please, if you don't understand something, reread it. The quizzes make you think a little bit, so reread it. Proteins can be found on page 170 of the textbook. Here's a quick definition of it. So you guys can go ahead and read that definition. It basically, they contain nitrogen and in some cases sulfur. Alright, so it's again carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but now they throw in nitrogen. And this is what it looks like right here. This is just their standard group of hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, and just an R group, whatever that is. Protein structures. Now protein structures, they're kind of interesting. Alright, amino acids bind together, peptides, polypeptides. You start off with an amino acid though. An amino acid, an AA, starts the function of a protein. Alright. Without an amino acid, you have no protein. So amino acids are essential for proteins, period. Absolutely, 100%. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky, because they can fold and they can bend and they can do everything else. So you have a primary structure, a secondary structure, tertiary, quaternary. Alright. An example of a quaternary would be like hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, which carries oxygen to our organs, is a great example of a quaternary protein structure. And if you're not good at seeing how things fold and bend, you might want to get on a online source and see this, okay? Because this is pretty cool how they bend and they form and stuff like that. So we'll try to do some of that stuff in class, and I can show you how it bends and folds, and those folds are very, very important. They're essential for all organisms. Without proteins, there's no nucleic acid, which means no nucleic acid, there's no DNA, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But proteins, your nucleus and every cell codes for proteins through amino acids. Alright? So just keep that in mind. Proteins are very complex, but yet they are very, very, very important, and they're very specific to certain molecules. Here's some nucleic acids. Nucleic acids, RNA, DNA, it tells you right here. They have a base, they have a sugar. The sugar is either ribose or deoxyribose, so it's either RNA or DNA, and a phosphate group. Nucleic acids, they're acidic, hence nucleic acids. And DNA and RNA will get to a little bit different, but again, these code for the proteins. So without these, no proteins. Without proteins, we wouldn't be alive. Proteins and nucleic acids work. It's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. Alright? Very, very common, like a symbiotic relationship. And this is what RNA, this is actually DNA right here. This is DNA. This is what it looks like. This is nucleic acid, deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. Alright. The role of nucleic acids, the information, they code for specific proteins that your body needs. So everybody has different nucleic acids which code for different proteins, which then give us our different hair color, eye color, body type, so forth and so on. So that's what nucleic acids do. Is they're kind of the brain which codes for proteins, which then the proteins give us our physical traits. Alright. Oh, I just thought of something. Proteins have nitrogen. So without the nitrogen cycle, we wouldn't have any proteins to consume. Without nitrogen, we have no proteins. No proteins, we're not here. So here's just a lesson summary and some review questions that you might want to look over. If you don't understand something, come and ask me questions. I think this is the last. Oh, nope. And if you want some more information, I found this great website which has individually broken down video clips, about 5 to 7 minutes of each carbohydrates, protein, so forth and so on. So this might be a good other resource for you to look at if I'm not making sense or you just don't quite get it. By all means, check this out. Again, ask questions in class if you don't understand stuff, and have fun. See you later. Bye.